Hello and welcome to Vox Markets. I am John Hewman. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Tom Oakley, the Chief Executive of Clinical Imaging Specialist Feedback. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Good to have you on. And yeah, you've put some results out today, which look really good, show some really significant commercial progress. But perhaps before we look at them, it would be good if you could introduce yourself, tell us a bit about the company and what it does, and especially the two main products, Bleeper and CareLocker, and tell us what problems they're overcoming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm Tom Oakley. I'm the Chief Executive of Feedback. My background is as a radiologist in the NHS, and then in various roles in and around NHS England around medical technology before joining Feedback 4.5 years ago. Feedback itself is a medical device company which has been around for more than 20 years with a deep heritage of producing top quality software. And it's all about bringing clinical data into the hands of clinicians so that they can make faster decisions better for their patients.
Mm.
And as a clinician, you just need two things. You need access to your patient's data, so you've got the information, and you need access to colleagues. And then that way you can have a collaborative discussion and you can reach the right decision for the patient. And that's essentially what we provide. And we provide that in two different ways, as a product offering to individual hospital trusts and as an offering between hospital sites. So we conduct the communication and the data view within a hospital site and between hospital sites using our two core products, Bleeper and CareLocker.
Okay. And the results show a very strong acceleration of the top line. So what's been driving that? Who's buying?
So the predominant driver here is around the NHS uptake, which, as everyone knows, is not an easy thing to
Mm.
achieve, particularly in the current climate, and is a real testament to the quality of our products and the value that we represent. And really, for the last 4 years or so, we have been honing the product offering, really making sure that the value proposition to the customer is as good as it can be, so that we're now in a position to take that forward and to scale it. And you will probably have seen within our report that we've actually released some information around the assessment, the independent assessments of our technology by entities such as Unity Insights, and also the findings from our year-long pilot at Queen Victoria Hospital. And the results speak for themselves. I mean, at the Northern Care Alliance, where Unity Insights observed our product, we were actually reducing the referral response time by 1.5 days on average, which is a huge clinical time saving if you think about it. And the net economic benefit of taking Bleeper, once you've taken our costs aside, is about £164,000 a year for the individual trust. And if you were to take that across the whole Greater Manchester region, they'd be saving 1.5 million a year. So it's a very substantial cost savings. The thing I'm most proud of, though, actually, is that 88% of our users love Bleeper as a product. So they find it easy to use, intuitive, and that's exactly the value proposition we've been trying to create for them. And some of our followers will have already heard some of the data that's come out of Sussex. This is our cross-provider opportunity where we're connecting GPs with hospitals around diagnostic facilities and conducting end-to-end pathways. But just to reiterate that, what we have demonstrated over the last 12 months is that using Bleeper and CareLocker, you can reduce patient wait times by 69% without needing any additional clinical staff at all. And because we reduce the requirement for an outpatient appointment in about 89% of cases, we actually are releasing about £173 back to the system for every patient that goes through the platform. So if you were to put 200,000 patients through that, you'd be saving £34 million. So these are substantial savings. So our technology is hitting the pain points of the NHS as a customer, namely patient wait times, staff shortages, and cash constraint. So we
Yeah.
take it for free.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very much needed in, as you say, a very difficult time for the NHS when funding and staffing are huge challenges. But despite that, I mean, as you've alluded to, the NHS is not an easy customer to work with a lot of the time, despite the fact that products like yours really do, solve a lot of their problems. But you have made a lot of progress on that front. I guess having worked in the NHS, that would have helped a great deal. But tell us what you've done that is helping you overcome the challenges of selling to the NHS.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Healthcare is slow. We've always known this, and I think we've made no secret of hiding that. But the advantage is if you can prove the value proposition to the customer, they become very long-term customers. With our legacy products, Cadran and Texrad, some of our customers were with us for more than 20 years. And that just goes to show that the lifetime value of these customers once won is significant. It takes on average about 7 to 12 years to bring a new product to market in the NHS, and we've actually achieved sales within 4 years. So we're way ahead of the trend on that.
Mm.
And a large part of that is because we had a running start, because we had such a deep set of historic and good quality products to draw from. And our sort of heritage as a provider of medical device software really gave us an advantage. And I think to succeed in the NHS, what you have to do is to show that you are a quality manufacturer that really understands the needs of the clinical community and be able to evidence that. And that's really what we spent this period trying to achieve. And the one thing I would say is we are building a viable business model um, with proven technology and a proven value proposition to the customer. We're delivering double-digit growth, and we're on track to do the same thing this year. But we are not your typical medtech company. We've seen in the market numerous examples of companies that have been boom and bust, and that have blown up to huge valuations and then collapsed because they don't have a viable business model. We are about sustained year-on-year growth towards a long-term huge value proposition to shareholders and a great return on investment.
Yeah, and you've obviously sort of achieved a lot of milestones in terms of becoming I guess the word accredited supplier to the NHS. You're on their sort of procurement radar, as it were.
We are, and we are still the only communication platform that is commercially available that is certified as a medical device for image display. So the moment you want to do something with a digital image of a patient and you want to collaborate around that, Bleeper is the platform that you need to use to be regulatory compliant.
Hmm.
And that is a fantastic USP for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the fact that the NHS is a difficult customer to work with, and you've made all of this progress, it must be a significant barrier to entry, a moat, as it were, an economic moat for you versus your competitors.
It is. And I think one of the principles that we've taken at Feedback is that once we have proven the value of this product, it's about leveraging that in multiple different spaces at once. And we are beginning to see some real interest in the Bleeper proposition in India. And we've only just announced, as part of the annual report, our appointment of Rohit Singh as our in-country managing director for our Indian operating subsidiary. And it comes at a fantastic time because we've only just received our import license for Bleeper as a medical device. So we are now in a position to start selling Bleeper within India, and we have just the right person to get going with it in Rohit. So I'm expecting to see some exciting stuff happening there as well.
Again, another difficult market for Western companies to sell into, in particular. So a very significant milestone there. I was going to ask you next what the scale of the opportunity is. You've already mentioned India, but perhaps we could start with the UK, the scale of the opportunity within the NHS, and then take a look at India as well, and why that's such an attractive market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So within the UK, we've got the value proposition into individual trusts who will buy Bleeper and CareLocker on an enterprise basis. And then we have that transactional model where they can use Bleeper and CareLocker to pass patients between different provider sites. And that's more a proposition into these regional integrated care systems, so the coordinating boards at a local level. And that model goes up to a huge total addressable market of about £93 million a year for us just within the community diagnostic space, let alone if you start looking at the individual hospitals and other stakeholders. And in India, the total addressable market we identified for Bleeper alone is in excess of £1 billion a year. So these are huge opportunities. And this is why we've taken such pains to prove a value proposition, because once you've done that, you have the key to unlock those markets, and it's then just about scaling, and that's the position we're at now.
Yeah. So so now scaling, never an easy thing to do, but as you say, you've got the foundation in place. Pretty well funded to scale and really tap into that opportunity. What comes next? I assume more product development, but more sort of commercial investment as well.
Yes, so it's actually now really around identifying those routes to market that we've spent the last few years unlocking and then activating them. So we have been talking to various partners around go-to-market strategies. We have also recently presented our findings to the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Diagnostics, and that has got us some national stakeholder conversations, which are really, really quite interesting. And we hope to be able to leverage those to achieve quite substantial growth. It's no secret that what we're doing is innovative, and it presents a huge value proposition for both the NHS, but also the political stakeholders as well. So I think we've positioned that very well. The other thing that has happened recently in the market is that the ICO have made a ruling against an NHS organisation for using WhatsApp. And this was the sort of silver bullet we had been waiting for around driving a change of behaviour in the NHS. And everyone knows that WhatsApp is not suitable for clinical use, but there hadn't really been an impetus to change that behaviour. But now that an ICO ruling has happened,
Mm.
we expect to see a lot of NHS organisations reevaluating their position on WhatsApp and looking for compliant technology that can not just replace it, but give them a huge added value. And that obviously would be Bleeper.
Yeah, and this technology has been delivered software on a software as a service basis. So I guess that again is another massive development over the last sort of 10 years, which I really guess unlocks an opportunity, a further opportunity for you with the development that you've done already.
Yes, it really does. We, in terms of our legacy products, they were all standalone sales with no recurring revenue. And one of the first things that I implemented as a chief exec was a change in that business model to move towards software as service and to generating a recurring revenue stream from all the clients that we operate with. And actually, we are seeing a growing base of ARR. We don't formally report that yet, but we might do in the near term. And we are seeing a number of customers renewing now, and not just on an annual basis, but for the first time for multi-year contract renewals, which is real testament to driving that annual recurring revenue base.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's obviously been a very successful model for lots of companies over in the US. Remarkably, few SAS or SaaS opportunities in the UK. So really really exciting to hear that. So we've talked about the long term opportunity. Perhaps we could have a quick look at what comes next in terms of the shorter term sales outlook.
So it's no secret to anyone that the NHS is under huge pressure at the minute with growing backlogs, winter coming around the corner, which of course makes things even more difficult for the system. And as I made in the APPG to Parliament, the point that you've invested billions of pounds in bricks and mortar and in staffing, but actually digital is the third pillar of any building that you need to put in place. And digital is the only way that you can bring capacity online ahead of winter. So we are using this sort of emerging tsunami of winter pressure to really drive the conversations with the NHS in the short term to say, look, yes, make the long-term investment in bricks and mortar and in staffing, but actually invest in digital now and get ahead of winter. So we're hoping that that's a message that will help to drive a value proposition, and using the evidence that we now have to support that really lead to some sales in the short term.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Yeah, lots of conversations taking place. I'd imagine at the moment, lots of very sort of
Yes.
nervous NHS chief execs out there. I would imagine.
Yes, and I think at the back of everyone's mind, we know that waiting lists actually equate to real life suffering for
Mm, mm.
patients, and everyone in the healthcare system, whether you're a doctor or a manager, you've gone into that business to help patients fundamentally, and that beyond anything else is the main driving force for all of us, and we just want to get patients seen and quickly treated.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's fantastic stuff, and you seem to be making very good progress in achieving that. Thank you so much for talking to us, Tom. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much, John. Really great.